Hello, Hauka. My name is Bobby Wallace, and I'm from the Kumeyaay Nation. I am a sports guy. I love to fish. I love to be far out on the ocean, drive with the stars and a compass and time. That's my real passion. I also like to fight for those with no voice, those people in need, fighting for water, and Mother Earth. I think my goals and aspirations are to make changes in this world to help the betterment of our people. My trauma begins at a very young age. I was a foster kid. Um, then I was with my mother for some time, and she took us to some crazy places like biker hangouts, the Charles Manson place, which was up north. It started with my mother and my father, and they were both users. My father was a drinker. My mother used everything she could, which kind of shaped me into the path I was going on as a young man. As I navigated through life from what I was molded from a young age, they determined to me in my mind that I had to relive some of those situations. It shaped me for several years, led me down the road to drugs, alcohol, more drugs, uh, and creating trauma for myself and others around me.
My name is Erica Pinto. I am the chairwoman for the Hamul Indian Village of California. I grew up on two different reservations. I'm from the Hamul Indian Village, but I grew up on another reservation. During my childhood, I saw many things on both reservations, including poverty, childhood sexual abuse, which I went through from the time I was in second grade until I was 14. Those experiences and the childhood trauma really set me down the wrong path. That's something that I had not dealt with in my young adulthood. I carried it with me, I internalized it, and because of that, because of internalizing it and not speaking about it, because I didn't heal myself and walk myself through that experience that I had, I instead turned to alcohol. My first interaction with alcohol was right out of high school. And once I first took that sip, I felt that I was on top of the world. I felt numb. I felt that I wasn't feeling those feelings of shame that I felt for so long, and all those other bad things that came along with the childhood trauma. So taking that sip of beer, not only did it warm my body, it numbed my mind and numbed me from feeling, all those horrible things that I felt, because I had not at the time dealt with. The biggest challenges I faced in my attempt to stop, I did try to stop many times, and it was in my 20s. So for 14 years, I abused alcohol. And not a lot of people knew that because I kept it pretty private. And I was a social drinker for the most part until I wasn't. Wanting to stop would mean I would have to not attend those places or not show up to those places. And that wasn't going to happen.
Haukanyash Bahipshu, Nuwichuhi, Matarwa Mamakopai. My name is Blue Eagle V. Hill. I'm from the Vieja Hispana Kumeyays. And today I am a cultural practitioner. My passions today are singing bird songs and continuing on the culture And in my spare time, I like to make my own music, rap music. And yeah, I guess my trauma began when as a young kid, watching everybody party, growing up in a household, and I guess wanting to be just like them. And I guess that's where my trauma began, watching my uncles go in and out of prison, my dad, and I thought that was the way to be. So that's what I chose my life path as. That struggle has impacted my journey by lots of bad decisions and taking me down a lot of dead ends and wrong roads in my life, and has led me into a lot of places that I didn't want to be.
When it comes to seeking assistance with substance use, it can be really difficult overall for a lot of folks. There's a lot of stigma when it relates to substance use. Many people have their own thoughts about people who use drugs and alcohol, and so it can be difficult to find the services. It can be difficult to ask for those services, thinking that people are going to be judged. So it's really important for individuals to reach out, for them to do the research. It's also important for people who have the knowledge to provide that information, to make sure that even if you don't use yourself, to just give the information away so that if you happen to know somebody who uses or end up meeting somebody who uses, that you can provide that information to them if and when they're ready to get clean. I think the hardest thing when it comes to folks who want to stop using is that stigma. Stigma often results in people being afraid to ask for help. It results in people being afraid to stop. There's also the idea of how much the substance, in a biological sense, how much people actually need the substance at a certain point. And so that in itself can be a barrier for folks trying to get help, because when they stop, people go through withdrawals. It does not feel good to go through withdrawal symptoms, whether that's a physical withdrawal, whether that's a mental withdrawal. And so between that stigmatization, between those uncomfortable feelings, and the danger of some withdrawals, some substances can actually be dangerous to come down from, and you have to get medically monitored, because if you're not getting medically monitored, you could have seizures, you could actually die from coming off the substances. And so these can be those huge barriers to people actively seeking out ways to stop using. If you don't have a good support system, it can make it a lot more difficult for people to stop using. And that in itself can be hard, because if you don't have a good support system, or if you've pushed away, which a lot of folks who do use do push away their support system, then there's not always a reason to stop using.
As my drug addiction and alcoholism escalated, my mindset as a caring person kind of left me. I care for everybody and I love everybody, but that was out the door. When I turned about 40 years old, I knew things weren't going the way they were supposed to. I was drinking way too much. My faith in the Creator and things that I've seen and the gifts that the Creator has shown me, we're kind of leaving. I think for myself, going through this journey and learning more about the Creator and more about our traditional value system, and knowing that I could travel somewhere to be with people where their families were suffering, played a huge role in me not drinking. Plus the fact, the Creator told me I was gonna die, and the Creator had plans for me. I just let myself go the way I was supposed to go. Some of the key factors for me not using and drinking was, it's wrong. Everywhere I went, I was creating misery because I would show up with a cooler of beer that was always loaded in my truck, no matter where I went. Got other people to drink, which made me feel bad. But the crashing cars and putting people's life in jeopardy was just not cool. I'm a human being just like everybody else, and everybody else makes mistakes. But choosing to drink, choosing to use and drive, or doing reckless things is just not cool. As I started pulling away from drug abuse and alcohol abuse, I started feeling more peace inside myself. I felt being around the traditions. I felt being around other good people with the same belief helped me step across those lines and across those boundaries I was never able to cross before. The number one support system that I have is myself, because I have to hold myself accountable, and the Creator, because the Creator created us. The Creator knows everything about us. And who am I to deny a life of myself that was given to me for free? For those watching this, you're not alone, because I've messed up. I almost shot somebody once. I wrecked cars. I did reckless and careless things. I think, all those things that take away from who we are and what we are. I hope you can see this, relate with me, and change yourself in a good way. Good things can happen for those that want it, but you have to want it, and you have to live it. One thing I must do is I need to cleanse and purify myself, because taking in somebody's bad energy has to be relieved somehow. I cleanse myself with the stuff that you see in this video by prayer, by going outside, sitting under a tree, hiking up a mountain, and knowing I'm a part of Mother Earth, and there is a plan for me, but you just have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe in something higher and greater than everything.
The key factors that contributed most to my recovery were, first of all, a change in my attitude towards substances, getting in touch with my spiritual side and my higher power and things that I believe, my own personal beliefs. My ancestors, that we have a cemetery where I grew up on the reservation. It's the Humboldt Cemetery. And my mom often takes me to those grounds. And we walk around there, and there's our ancestors that are buried there. And what that does for me, and talking with my mom and going there and visiting our people, because they've struggled so much. And so here I am, struggling with my own abuse and my own alcoholism and my own substance abuse. Everything changed. It just clicked. Everything changed. I got to know my mom a lot more. I got to spend a lot more time with my mom. Got to know my brothers better. It's just, I cannot stress enough the support group. In the 14 years that I abused alcohol, I do have regrets. And it has to do with time. The time that I wasted in places, the time that I wasted under the influence, the time that I basically checked out of my life. I regret that because I lost precious time. I'll never get that time back, while that is a regret to me. But I'm 48. I feel I'm still young enough that I have, in the last 10 years being sober, made new memories, made new positive memories. And it has a lot to do with my job. And from the earlier question you asked about passions, and my people, who are the Kumeyaay people of California, of Southern California, are my passion, because we've had such a atrocious history here in California that I want to see our people do better. I want to see our people do well. So now, at my ripe old age of 48, that's what I do. And I have done that. The reason that I felt that I didn't deserve an improved life is because I had internalized all my childhood trauma, and I felt many emotions, negative emotions, shame, guilt, unworthiness, all these emotions. So I didn't believe that I truly deserved good things in life. But I know I do. I know now that I do. And so do the rest of my people. I believe everybody possesses a strength, especially our American Indian people. It's just a matter of finding it. One of the things that I did find out about myself is that I do lack patience. And it has something to do with time that I spoke about earlier, the loss of time. And when I look around, I know that, our people still suffer, as I said. And time is so precious because it goes by like that. And so this journey has changed my life for the better, so much so that I look forward to so many things. I have a different outlook on life. Life to me is precious, just like time is precious. I don't take things for granted like I used to. And I want to accomplish so much that there's not enough time to do it in a day. I've realized that along the way of my sobriety, that I've found a lot of peace, a lot of serenity, and that's new. I didn't have that when I was using. It was rather chaotic. So the newfound peace that I feel, it's welcomed.
A lot of the troubles that I faced getting clean and sober was my people, places, and things, my friends, my environment, my own habits, creating new habits, and unlearning all the things that I was taught as a kid. Those were my biggest challenges in my life. I think the breaking point for me to make that change in my life was being sick and tired of myself, not having the willpower to do anything of my own, not having the strength to carry on because of addiction. The power of addiction was crippling to my mind, my body, my health, and my mentality. And I got sick of it, and I had a choice, as we all do in life, and I made the choice to stand up and fight for my sobriety. The things that contributed most to my my recovery was in the beginning there was NA, AA. I did a lot of those, and then the sweat lodge, and then traditional bird singing. All those were my support system and gave me a new life, and I was able to find myself again by going back to my culture, rediscovering myself, and in that, doing that, I was able to recreate myself and become the person who I was meant to be. I think the only lesson I learned about my past is accepting it and just to move forward with everything that has happened in a good way. When you get sober, things don't necessarily mean that everything's going to be better. You're still faced with life challenges and you got to face life on life's terms. And it's a struggle every day. It's for everybody, but I do it still clean and sober. Being strong does not require to have an easy life. We are all powerful beings when we step into our medicine, step into our power, and decide to be who the Creator wanted us to be. That's what I found out who I was and what I was capable of. Before, when I was in my addiction, I knew I was special, but addiction wouldn't let me be who I wanted to be because it controlled me. My addiction mostly used me, and mostly what it did was took from me. It took my family. It took my health. It took my creativity. It took my love for my people. It took the love for myself, and basically that's what it did. It took everything from me. And today I'm taking it back.
I think the most effective way to reduce harm is utilizing harm reduction strategies. So, a lot of times within the substance use treatment community, at least in the past, the focus was very much on abstinence only. And for a lot of people, abstinence only is a wonderful thing for them. But there are a lot of people that it doesn't necessarily work, and that's okay. And so harm reduction strategies are ultimately about, just like it says, reducing the harm of the substance use. And so things like that include prevention. And prevention is about education, educating people not just on what substances can do, but what are some of the coping skills and coping strategies that we can implement? What are some relaxation skills? What are the reasons for substance use to begin with? We recognize that trauma in itself is one of the main reasons that a lot of people start using, or depression or anxiety. Let's get to the crux of those issues. Let's work on those issues. And so that can be a lot of the prevention piece. With other harm reduction strategies, it's about looking at MAT, which is medication assisted treatment. And so instead of focusing on just stopping using, let's look at, well, what are some other medications maybe that can come into play? Let's look at providing the community with fentanyl test strips so that they can test their drugs to make sure that there's not fentanyl in there, so that if they use, they're not going to potentially overdose on fentanyl immediately. Let's look at getting Narcan out into the community so that if somebody does overdose, that it can be reversed and we can save their lives. My recommendation for somebody who is currently dealing with substance use is, are you ready? And this also goes for family members, of somebody who is using. Is that person ready? Oftentimes we want to get them help, but if somebody is not ready to accept that help, there's only so much that can be done. Somebody has to be ready and willing, and that's really the key.
Getting clean and sober has impacted my spirituality in big ways. I consider myself to be a very prayerful, spiritual person, and I always was. I always knew who I was, but like I said, the addiction took that from me, and today I'm able to walk in that prayer, those prayers that I made, even those prayers I made when I was in my addiction. I'm able to realize that those prayers are coming to fruition, and I'm able to accept those and make new prayers for the future for myself. Yeah, the best lessons I've learned from getting clean was that it's better to start today than tomorrow, to not put it off. If you could find somebody to help you along the way, that'll help you out in tremendous ways. The ways I hold myself accountable today are just by keeping myself in check and having my partner, and we feed off each other and make sure that we hold each other accountable. And she's the best person for me that's always holding me accountable. So I got to live up to that and be the man that she wants me to be and the man that I know I am. And I know that my mom is in heaven right now, you know, smiling down. She's proud of me, of the man who I am and the changes that I made in my life. For the people that have never had to deal with a loved one that was addicted to drugs or alcohol, my main thing for them would be to have compassion and empathy for what they're going through, because like I said, the addiction is crippling, baffling, and it'll spin you out. So those who don't understand, just, you know, patience with their loved ones, and time, and do everything with love, with a loving heart. Bird singing has helped me heal. The feeling that I get from singing, staying up all night, and that morning come, and you're giving it all you got. You feel part of something, and you feel that spiritual aspect of our people that have felt this for many thousands and thousands of years. You feel connected. I think it's important for people to find their own healthy coping mechanism, whatever it may be, singing, whether it's painting, hiking, being with friends, sharing, counseling, whatever it may be. What works for me might not work for you. So whatever it is, go with it, man. And, you know, put all your heart into it, and what you put in, you'll get out of it.
The most important thing that I think that somebody who's using now should know about themselves, or that I think would be valuable, to be patient with yourself. Loving yourself, knowing that you're precious, knowing that you deserve a good life. I'm not a perfect person. Sobriety, alcoholism, addiction, they say you're like one step away from relapsing. And relapsing does happen. Thankfully, I have not experienced that. But if I don't hold myself accountable, if I don't make that time, if I don't put that care into myself, you know, I'm gonna set myself up for failure. So that's how I hold myself accountable. I have to make myself take some time. Because we want them to look at us and go, well, I can do that too. If you can do that, and if you can handle yourself a certain way after all the challenges that we've talked about, that I've faced, or that we go through in life, that everybody goes through, you can handle it without substances. You can talk through things. You can talk with people and talk things out rather than hurting yourself, rather than drowning yourself in drugs and alcohol. The positive impact that I hope that I'm having, or that I could in the future, is that people do know that we can function without having to numb ourselves. And I'll continue to be out there in the public. I'll continue to share my story. And I do hope to be able to, you know, get through to some people that maybe feel like they're alone. For the people who don't understand addiction, what I have to say to them is to be patient, to love your relatives, your friends, whomever is going through this painful, awful disease. Love them and understand that it is a disease, and to be patient with them and support however you can. Don't enable, but support them however you can, because we need it. Because just 10 years ago, I thought I was gonna die. I thought that I could never change my life. I thought, well, I was very weak. For me, that was for me. Not everybody, feels that way, but I felt that. And in my recovery, feeling grateful for everything, the leaves, the trees, the air we breathe, the water, the food, the acorns, the animals, the people, everybody in this earth. I just feel that gratitude every morning. And I pray a lot. That's something that I didn't do before. I pray daily and nightly. Clinics like Southern Indian Health Council help people who are suffering from addiction and substance abuse by providing mental health services, by providing Kumeyaay wellness services, by providing medical services, pharmaceutical services. My final message to someone who's struggling right now with addiction: you matter, that you're loved, you have family that cares for you. And if you cannot stop for yourself, know that there's people that love you and care for you, and to be patient with yourself and love yourself enough to change your life.
The spirituality plays a big part in why I don't drink. Like I had said before, that I heard the Creator talk to me, telling me I was gonna die if I didn't stop drinking or didn't stop singing. It had to be one or the other, and I had to choose. I think the spirituality is getting stronger too, and it's guiding my path in a good way. I think we all have it within us to be able to become that much closer to Mother Earth, but we need to find it within ourselves and try to think good thoughts about everything and everyone. I think if we all could just take a moment, dig within ourselves, figure out who we are and what we are really, we'd be a lot better off. And setting everything else aside, get spiritual, have the love for the people. You got to have the love for everything. I don't think we're meant to hate. I don't think we're meant to behave badly towards one another. I think it all starts with love and respect, spirituality, and caring for everything. For you people that are trying to get sober and trying to get clean, every step you take does matter. You have to make the right steps. You have to believe in yourself. You really do. You have to believe that people care about you and people love you. And I do know from trauma, it's really hard sometimes, but we do have the resources to make things a little bit easier on ourselves. We have Southern Indian Health, and Southern Indian Health was there for me before too. Being able to sit and listen to somebody, it's not less than, but it's more than, because what you're doing is you're creating an alternate future, not only for yourself, but for everything that happens after you. So that step branches off, and that step branches off, and that step branches off. You could change the whole history of your family, the future of your family, with taking those good steps. And I know you can.
Rain is pouring down upon the memory of the storm. Worries in the hollows, regret is in the storm.